these traffickers, they can be anywhere that 11 to 17-year-olds are that when we're not with them or when they're out and they're speaking to people. So the mall, a movie theater, when my girls were in this age range, well, at least when they were in high school, I would let them go to the movies. I would take them to the movies. Their friends would meet them there, and I would come back later and pick them up. Well, there are traffickers, a lot of these movie theaters, who are there and they're like introducing themselves to these girls, like, hey, how are you? That's a really cool outfit that you're wearing. It might be a girl talking to a girl, like, where'd you get that purse? Where'd you get those boots? Or it might be a guy saying, you have beautiful eyes. So it could be at a Whataburger or the cafe where Brianna worked. If we have time at the end, I'll tell you guys, somebody remind me to tell you the story of the middle school sporting event that a middle school girl was lured away from. And so it can be any of these scenarios where they're out there. In this photo, they're just at a coffee shop, right? But I can't tell you who the recruiter is in that picture. It could be that girl over there on that side recruiting that guy in the red shirt and the hoodie, luring him into the world of trafficking. It could be that other guy luring that other guy. It could be the girl luring the girl, like befriending her and then pulling her into the world of human trafficking. It's almost impossible to know. And we'll talk a little bit more about what a trafficker looks like. But a big place that this is happening is in that phone that is carried around in your kid's back pocket. It's estimated that at any given time there are 750,000 predators in the world of social media, in the world of gaming, and they aren't there hanging around with their friends on Snapchat or Twitter or even in the world of Facebook. They're there specifically looking for people who are vulnerable. I'm so mad at my mom. I want to run away from home. My boyfriend just broke up with me. My girlfriend is being such a jerk. They're looking for that, and then they'll go, you know, I'm 14 too. They're not 14, but I'm 14 too. I had that exact same experience. And oh, I noticed that you like labs. I like labs too. And my favorite ice cream is also chocolate mint. So they're specifically there trying to find that vulnerable person. Any app with a message or a chat feature is a gateway for them to develop a relationship with your kids, with our kids. Gaming is a big way that they will interact with young men because boys are more apt to be in the world of gaming. Girls are more apt to be in the world of social media. There's crossover there, but the vast majority of the time when young men are pulled into this world, in the world of social media or gaming, it's through that gaming part. They develop relationships to people in the game. So let's talk about why those numbers are increasing, at least in the world of DMST. It's just simple math. So if I am a criminal and I'm choosing to traffic drugs as my way of making money, so I buy the supplies or the drugs that I want to sell from you, and then I turn around and I sell them to you. In both of those encounters, I experience risk because you could be undercover law enforcement or you could be undercover law enforcement. And then next week, I have to kind of hold back some of the money that I got from you because I need to go again and get more supplies or more drugs, right? So it's a continual cash flow issue for me and a continual risk issue for me as a criminal. Not so in the world of domestic minor sex trafficking. I lure Lacey. Lacey comes with me. Lacey thinks I'm her boyfriend. I didn't abduct her. There was no kidnapping involved. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So she comes willingly with me. She's willing to do what I say, and you'll learn more about why that is. I set her up in a hotel room over on this side of town. Men simply go on a web page, make a date, show up at the Holiday Inn, knock on room 222, go in there, pay her money, and leave. If law enforcement shows up at that hotel room, they're not going to arrest Lacey for prostitution, but they're certainly going to take her in for something. And they may or may not arrest that buyer. These days, they're more likely to arrest that buyer. But the seller, the trafficker, he's over here in his condo on the other side of the town, meeting more people on Instagram or social media. The buyer has had no interaction with me. He has no idea that I'm the seller. He doesn't know who I am or how to get a hold of me because he's only interacted on that web page and with Lacey. Lacey's not turning me in because she's my girlfriend and she loves me. So I have almost no risk in the world of human trafficking. And simple math, if I have 10 people go to that hotel room and pay Lacey $100, which she has to turn it all into me or I'll beat her to a pulp, I'm making $365,000 a year because she doesn't have a day off. If I have 3 or 4 girls, I'm making $1 million. That's why it's increasing, and that's why they've expanded their hunting grounds to more and more kids who are not those vulnerable, homeless kids that we often think about of getting caught up in this. So let's talk about what the trafficker looks like. So when I do presentations with teenagers, I just teach them, look, if you'll just stay away from people who have gold shoes like this, you'll be completely safe, right? I actually have a Christmas outfit from many years ago that kind of almost looks like that red thing with the, anyway, or that gold like S thing. But that's not reality, you guys get that, right? So let's talk about some actual human traffickers. This is a 25-year-old woman, so these aren't only men who are being the traffickers. This is a 25-year-old woman who trafficked a 14-year-old girl. So that woman right there is a convicted human trafficker. This man, a 14-year-old girl in the Fort Worth, Texas area, was walking home from the mall. She went to the mall for something, she got a ride there, but she missed her ride home. So she was walking, it's kind of getting to be evening, it's kind of getting a little chilly out, starts to drizzle a little bit. He pulls up in his car, he's not wearing that uniform at this point. He pulls up in the car and says, hey, do you need a ride? And she says, no, I don't know you, I'm not getting in the car with you, right? We've done a good job with stranger danger. And he drives away, and she keeps on walking. And suddenly, like it often does in Texas, the temperature drops dramatically, and it starts to pour down rain. We've seen that in the last couple days here, right? So it's nice and beautiful, and we're in shorts, and then, oh my gosh, it's 30 degrees outside. He pulls back around, reaches in the back seat, lifts up his dry cleaning bag that has that uniform in it, and says, hey, I just got back from a tour in Afghanistan. Surely if I can be trusted to protect our country, you can trust me long enough for me to get you home. Come on, get in the car, I'll give you a ride home. So she got in the car. He's not what we call a Romeo pimp. There was no romance. He's what we call a guerrilla pimp. The way that he controlled that young lady was through drugs and violence. So he kept her drugged on methamphetamines, and whenever she was not compliant, when she tried to get away or when she would not have sex or participate in the pornography videos that he was making of her, he would stab her along the spine. So when she was thankfully recovered from this situation with this trafficker, she had multiple stab wounds along her spine. Thankfully, he doesn't get to wear that uniform anymore, and he's in prison. So that's what a human trafficker looks like. This is a human trafficker. He trafficked homeless and drug-addicted teens on the streets of Houston. He would threaten their families and threaten them if they did not comply with what he wanted them to do once he kind of had them in his world. At his trial, he was given the chance to say a few words, and he said, I don't understand what the big deal is. They're just trash. Because most of the time, these traffickers view their product as a styrofoam cup. You just use it, and when it doesn't have any purpose for you anymore, you just throw it away and get a new styrofoam cup. So that's a convicted human trafficker. This girl and her boyfriend, they went on a road trip from Houston to St. Louis, Missouri to pay for their road trip, their hotels along the way and their food along the way and the things that they wanted to do for fun when they got to Missouri. They took along a 14-year-old girl, and they sold her to a variety of people and took pornographic images of her and sold them. So she and her boyfriend are both convicted human traffickers. I can't teach a teenager, hey, don't hang around people who look like the guy in the middle. Because all those convicted traffickers, they could be my next door neighbor. I don't have a way to tell someone what a human trafficker looks like because they can be anybody. So let's talk about how easy it is to purchase, how easy it is to be the buyer in this world today. So it used to be, when you're my age, the thought of how prostitution occurs is that somebody gets in their car, guy gets in their car, goes to the seedy, bad side of town, picks up some girl in short shorts and mega big heels and drives off with her, right? That's really not the way this works anymore. That still happens a little bit, but for the vast majority of the time, a guy just takes his cell phone or his computer and goes to a variety of different websites and chooses a website that he likes, and he'll pull up this ad here that says, must see, be sweet and nice, amazing and extremely wonderful, 3 girls waiting to relieve all your stress. There's an address and a phone number, Perrin Beidel, Fredericksburg, Bandera Road, Teasel Road, San Pedro Avenue, Fredericksburg Road, addresses and phone numbers. So he makes a date, and he goes to a Holiday Inn, he goes to a barbershop. Like, nobody's going to think anything if he walks into a barbershop. If he runs into somebody he goes to church with, they think he's just going to get a haircut. Or he walks in the Holiday Inn and he runs into his friend from work. He's just going to visit his sister. who's staying in that hotel. There's very little risk for that buyer. And people often ask, they're like, Susan, why doesn't law enforcement go show up at all those addresses? Because when they get there, it's just a massage parlor, because they're going to know they're law enforcement. They're not really going to be able to arrest anybody there. They might find some underage people, and they can haul them off to the Cryer Center for Juvenile Justice downtown, and they do that. They often do sting operations, but just how many of you guys have heard of Backpage.com? Anybody in the room? You may have heard that Backpage got into a lot of trouble legally, and they're still in a lot of trouble legally. And actually, they shut down all of their adult entertainment section. Backpage is just like Craigslist. Like, you can go on Backpage and buy a lawnmower. You can go on there and buy a couch. But there's a section, just like there used to be on Craigslist, for adult entertainment and adult companionship, things like that. They shut down all those sections. If you go there now, please don't go there, but if you go there now, it says censored on all of those. But the very day that they became censored, when they said the United States government is censoring us, they just moved all the ads over to the massage section. This was taken that very day. Nothing changed. Nothing at all changed. And you know what? If we shut down Backpage, there's hundreds of others. Another one's just gonna rise up to be the main one. We need to do that. We need to work on that, and that's one of the avenues we are pursuing, not we, but law enforcement and people against this, but that's not the only solution to this issue. So let's talk about the buyer, right? So we often think somebody who looks like this guy in the mugshot, spending money, this criminal guy spending money to have sex with these girls, but the reality is that this is the buyer, right? Maybe the buyer looks like that. Maybe the buyer's day job is in a school or a university or some other professional setting. Maybe the buyer looks like that. I gave this talk at an Episcopal church a couple months ago, and I kind of felt bad for the priests in the room who were wearing the collar, but they were very gracious to me. But that's the reality. Sometimes it's clergy. We're right here in the medical center area. A lot of people go, yeah, the south side of San Antonio, it's so rampant with this. You know what's rampant with this? Where we are. Because who has the money to just, for half an hour, just $100 or more? Not the criminal, not somebody who is just living, not even paycheck to paycheck, somewhere on the south side or whatever. It's professionals. Most buyers are college-educated married men. That's the majority of the people who are spending money to have sex with our kids.